Meeting for that kind of reason right there. Welcome everybody, glad you're here. We have two meetings tonight. The first is public hearing, which is kind of short for us for how we've been going recently with 3 public hearings. We'll start that and then we will we'll exit the public hearing and then we will move into our regular work session. So with that, I will read the rules of order for public hearing zoning matters, which is City Code Section 280-2. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request that the parcels of property which are the subject of the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone and give their name and address to the city clerk. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. So, kids, don't try that at home. Just because we have changed some things during COVID and we're back to our normal procedures, but some of you may or may not be aware. The public hearing items will be just that, the public hearing. If you have an agenda and you're following along, those items then will come up on the work session agenda later on underneath the development department. And if the council has any questions for the applicants and or the staff, that will be the time that they will discuss those. So with that, the first public hearing we have is PZ 2021-774, which is 3174 Chamblee Dunwoody Road.
Thank you, Mayor. The request for this property, is to accommodate the introduction of a check cashing business at 3174 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. The property is zoned corridor of commercial, and check cashing businesses require some supplemental regulations to be complied with to be able to go into properties within the city. So the applicant is requesting variances from those two sections in the supplemental use regulations. The first being a requirement to be located on a boulevard street, and the proposed location is located on a secondary street, and then the second being a distance separation from other check cashing businesses of 1,000 feet, and the request is to reduce that down to 704 feet. So again, they've requested variances from those two different sections. This is an aerial of the site on Chamblee Dunwoody Road. It's the Fiesta 2 convenience store and a location inside of that. And this is the survey denoting the distance measurement, and in red is the subject property, and in blue is the next closest check cashing business that is 704 instead of 1,000 feet. Existing conditions photos, and that is the space, the 80 square foot space that is being requested to be able to institute this use. So based on the findings in the code, staff is recommending denial of the application, but should the mayor and city council make the findings, then we are recommending that the space dedicated to the check cashing business be limited to the 80 square feet. Thank you.
Very good, thank you very much. All right, so we'll have 10 minutes for those wishing to speak in favor of the variance application. Please come to the microphone and give your name and address to the city clerk. Okay. Anyone wish to speak in opposition? Oh, are you speaking for or in opposition?
Yeah, I'm the owner of the business. I don't know if I should.
So I would assume that you want to speak in favor of the application. So please come up to the microphone and give your name and address to the city clerk. Remember, we've got 10 minutes for this section here.
Sure. My name is Samir Lalani. I live in Gwinnett County, 2480 Sugarloaf Club Drive, Duluth, Georgia, 30097. Back in October of last year, I contacted the business license office and the zoning authorities at City of Chamblee to see if I can apply for a business license to operate a check cashing business in the city. I have 2 locations in city of Chamblee already. One, I don't know the exact addresses, but one is on Chamblee Dunwoody Road and second is on Beaufort Highway, and this will be my 3rd location in city of Chamblee. So back in October, before signing the lease with the landlord, I got a verbal confirmation from the business license office and the zoning authorities. That is when I went ahead and signed the lease. We constructed the 80 square feet cabin. We were issued a business license already. And in February or March, before we decided to move in, they revoked my license. And they said, oh, we issued you the business license by mistake. And I asked them, okay, but you guys gave me permission. I went through all the steps. I went through DeKalb County, fire marshal, everything you wanted me to do. That is when I was issued a business license. And how can you just revoke it just like that? And they said, oh, we had a management change. So the old management didn't know what they were doing, but according to the new management, you need to apply for a variance. And I said, okay, sure, and this is why I'm here. The second variance, which is I know the check cashing place has to be more than close to 1,000 feet. I think it's my second location, which is around 900 feet away. Because as I mentioned earlier, this would be my 3rd location in city of Chamblee. So again, I was given permission, and then before opening, they just decided to cancel my license. I ended up signing a long-term lease, spent about $13,000-$14,000 renovating the space because of security. And before I decided to open, they revoked my license. And the explanation again I was given was the old management didn't know what they were doing, but per new management, you need to apply for a variance.
Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you very much. Is anyone wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? We still have some time available for that. No. Yes. Okay, sir. You can have a seat. Is there anyone else wishing to? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? No. Okay. As I mentioned, this will come up again later on under our work session agenda. With that, we will move on to our second item under the public hearings, which is PZ 2021-776, which is 3960 Claremont Road, which is the Towns at PDK.
Thank you, Mayor. The request before you is to approve 9 variances and 2 waivers to accommodate 7 townhome unit development at the corner of 8th Street and Claremont Road. The property is zoned neighborhood commercial, and that's not proposing to change as a result of the request before you. So there are various variance requests in that list of 9. Some of them being a reduction of the streetscape requirements to allow the existing on Claremont Road, and then a number of townhome supplemental use regulations to reduce, private open space requirements, the 200 foot, to allow, to allow a reduction in the 1,600 square foot floor minimum, and to not provide the side-by-side 2-car garage. So a good number of those variance requests are a result of the supplemental use regulations applied to towns. There are also 2 different waivers, waiver requests before you. One to not meet the tree density requirements, and then also to not provide a full 22-foot driveway width for 2-way traffic as far as the curb cut goes. So the property is there on the aerial at the corner of 8th Street and Claremont Road, right on the edge of the city. This is an existing site survey, and if you'll note the notch out on the top of the survey, that is going to come back with a concurrent request for the city to abandon right of way there to accommodate the development. This is a site plan of the proposed development of the 7 units. You can see there's a drive aisle in the rear, and that is also the subject of the request to reduce the 30-foot buffer that it is single family just there to the rear adjacent to it. There's an existing access easement that gets you to the site to the north, as well as I think some pending parking easements that site will afford to this one if should this get built. It's accessed from a central motor courtyard, and that's where all the garages are for the units. The proposed trees, and you can see there's a 5-foot sidewalk proposed along 8th Street that is code compliant, and then over along Claremont Road, the request is to leave what is remaining there, which is a deficient streetscape. So this is elevation facing Claremont Road, the south elevation facing 8th Street, facing the single family buffer to the rear of the site. And then the north elevation, the aero exterminator site. And then some three-dimensional renderings. And this is the existing site conditions. So staff is recommending approval of 4 of the variances and denial of 5. And with those variances, we are recommending that the project be in substantial conformity with the site plan. And just as a note, some of the variances for denial would be that denial on the Claremont Road streetscape for the deficient landscaping. We are suggesting that the 10-foot wide landscape strip and a street sidewalk be built, as well as a number of other denials. Number 9 being the requirement to provide a bicycle parking space. Wanted to note that as well as a pretty insignificant, addition to a project that is, we would point out should be denied and be provided on the site. So, with that, that concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you very much. All right, anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come up.
I don't get the point anymore.
No.
And yeah, this does not go very well for someone with ADD.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here this evening, giving us an opportunity to present to you. As Director Kiefer mentioned, we're proposing 7 townhomes around this central lunar, which is a pedestrian and auto court, giving kind of mixed use, let kids play out in the yards, give cars a place to park, but making sure that we design that in a way to limit speed. We do have a little bit prettier of a rendering since you've seen last. This is from the corner of Claremont Road and 8th Street, so if you're looking from where the airport shoots out on Claremont, that would be what you're looking at in terms of material mix and design. Yeah. So we're looking at 7 townhomes. It's a key gateway into Chamblee near Brookhaven. There are a lot of unique site conditions, which we'll get into in a minute. And I just wanted to point out the site's located within 1,000 feet of 3 parks, including the 33-acre Ashford Forest Preserve between Claremont and Skyland Drive. Interestingly enough, there is a park at the end of Airport Road in PDK, right overlooking the runway, South Magnet Park. That park is actually not within 1,000 feet, so that's not included in the 3. That one's closer to 1,100 square feet, just to kind of put that scale into perspective from what we're talking about. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about the location and history. As you can see, it's very, very near to the airport. We're hoping that our rooftop decks will actually overlook some of the runway. The adjacent properties have a lot of asphalt. This one did before. You can see in a prior life it was used effectively for overflow parking for the adjacent office building when it was an Nextel. It was demolished. A lot of fill was brought on site. I think what we're proposing is consistent and actually has less impervious than what you're seeing on the 3 properties to the north. Or 2 of the 3, I should say. The middle one's got some gravel on it. Next slide, please. So we talked about some of the site challenges. I'll list these off, but we actually hit a new surprise yesterday in conversations with the Cab Watershed Management. There is a sewer blockage on Poplar Springs Road, so for us to get sewer approval for this site, we will need to put in a timed release holding tank for sewer. That is about 2,000 gallon capacity until the county clears that, which they do not have a timeline on. So that's another new site condition that we're looking at. The estimated cost on that is going to be about $50,000–$60,000 for us to move forward with. There is a 12-inch concrete pipe to the north. There's no easement on that. That's a city stormwater conveyance facility. We've got Georgia power lines on the right that are effectively sitting on the property line, pushing us back a little bit. We've got the access easement on the south. There's some issues with grade, there's the inset property line, and then one of the big ones that we've been trying to work through is GDOT requires us to have a curb cut 100 feet from Claremont Road, from the curb at Claremont. That entire south property line is actually only 126 feet long, so when you do the math, you see pretty quickly you're going to have to actually be back in that buffer even if the easement wasn't there in order to have safe automobile access. Lastly, we are near the airport. We're trying to make sure we don't create any issues for them. Next slide. So how did we look at this? Our first design, our goal was to restore the buffer and create the safe access, make sure that we could get some heavy plantings in. That didn't work for a couple different reasons. Number one, our neighbors need that access easement to the rear where it is to service their existing business, and number two, that access doesn't meet GDOT guidance. But I just wanted to share this to show that we did start with an initial goal of restoring that buffer and doing everything we can to meet the intent of the code, creating staggered corners, four-sided architecture, everything else that goes with that. Next slide. So this evolved over time through various conversations and input from staff and council from the community. This is where we landed. It does meet the GDOT access requirements. It maintains the access required to give the adjacent property. It provides a number of additional unique housing options. These are smaller townhomes than we're accustomed to seeing. One of them is 1,200 square feet as proposed. 3 are 1,600 square feet, and 3 are about 2,000 square feet. With the design, it should also give a lot of light and be a different look. We've got four-sided architecture, so it's going to look nice whether you're coming north or south on Claremont. Whether you're on 8th Street, even the rear of the property, we get some architectural treatment. We wanted to make sure we gave what you're looking at on the left a lot of architectural character, because you will see that as you drive down Claremont Road, so even the code doesn't require it. We wanted to make sure that we treated that the same as we treated the street frontages. Next slide. So again, just another picture of the rendering. We'll keep going. Another focus we had in this revised design was making sure that we engage the ground floor at street level. And so you can see this is the Claremont frontage. We've got active live workspaces, entry porches, living space on all of the corners. So that's to make sure that you're seeing people when you drive by, you're not seeing garages, you're not seeing dead space. And we did that on 8th Street as well. So we're doing what we can to engage the street. I did want to note here that Unit 6 is our smaller unit that's currently shown with the 2-car garage. Our variance request to that, is for a 1-car garage, so we can put some living space there as well to activate that side sidewalk that you're seeing on the right side of the screen. We don't need it, we can design it without it, but we thought it's a better product, and for a studio unit, we thought 1-car garage would be sufficient. There are no trees on the site right now at all. And so one of the things and one of the challenges we're trying to face as we kind of go through this process is meeting density without even a single mature tree. If we had 1 large pine or 2 large pines, that would meet the density requirements for the site. We have none. And on top of that, with the proximity to the airport, we're limited to height, we're limited to species. And then we got a good bit, about 8 to 10 feet of uncompacted fill on the site. So we are worried about the stability of the soil. On top of that, when you look at this and you look at where you want to plant, the kind of natural place is on the street frontage and then on the left side. But on the Claremont frontage, you've got an underground storm pipe. We don't want to go on top of that. And on the left side, where you're looking at, you've got another storm pipe. Don't want to put trees on top of that. So it makes finding locations to plant a little bit more difficult than it otherwise would be. So I did want to just spend a minute talking about the recommendation to deny the streetscape. That's very concerning to us because the request is for a 20-foot wide streetscape, but there's only 9 feet of city right away there. So in the 80s, about 6 feet was taken for the Claremont widening project. But what does 9 feet look like? If you look at that middle picture, that red line, that is the right-of-way marker. That's the property line. So that's how much space we have to work with between Claremont Road and our property. So trying to fit a 10-foot wide landscape strip and a 10-foot wide sidewalk in that space would be quite difficult. We did look at could we shift the existing sidewalk over a foot or two, create a little bit of a landscape strip. We couldn't really plant it because of the pipe underneath. We've got drip power poles about 10 inches from the existing sidewalk. So, concurrent with this request, we are trying to bury the overhead power lines. That is not a city requirement. Our cost estimates on that have come in between $100,000 and $150,000 from Georgia Power, but we don't have a firm number yet. So, concurrent with this request, we'd ask council to consider potentially a modified condition to allow this to remain if we were to bury those power lines. Next slide. Variance to townhome regs 3, 5, and 6. Largely, the Chamblee model is a suburban model. So, I'll look at what those are really quickly. Number 3 is lot size. We've really designed this to create a sense of community. We don't have individual yards or private yards. We have shared space, we have rooftop decks. So what we have basically proposed is a lot size equal to the square footage of the unit bottom plate. And all other spaces to be common and controlled with the walking loop and greenery and everything else. So that kind of hits 3 and 5, which is lot size, and then heated square footage, which is for unit 6, which is the one smaller unit. Variance number 6 is the 2-car garage, again for 1 unit. We can put a 2-car garage there. We're trying to activate the ground floor. What would it look like if we met these requirements, if we met the Chamblee code? 5 townhomes in a row, garage is facing southbound traffic on Claremont Road. We didn't think it has the same presence. We didn't think it was appealing. So that is why we didn't proceed down that path. I do think if council were to deny these variances concurrent with staff recommendations, I don't know how we could build the project in conformity with what we proposed. It simply couldn't be done. We couldn't meet the remaining requirements. So, next slide. Tree density, again, we're concerned about the stability of the soil, proximity to the airport. So we're looking just for a little bit of flexibility on that. We're showing planting 7 trees. I think we could fit 9 or 10 on site comfortably. But beyond that, I don't think the site would support it.
And you're running close.
I'm sorry.
10 minutes.
I'm done.
Okay.
So thank you all.
Very good. Good job. So we're right at 10 minutes there. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this? No? All right. So this will move forward to the work session agenda here after we're done with public hearings. The next item is PZ 2021-779, which is 2284 North Shelford Road.
Thank you, Mayor. This request is for side yard encroachment for a structure that has been partially constructed in the side yard to be as proposed to and currently as close as 2.3 feet from the adjacent property line. The property is zoned NR1 and there is an existing home on the site. So the scope is to enclose this outdoor patio and that is partially existing today from a torn down outdoor patio that existed prior to that. There was a code enforcement case which is what brought us to this point today. And then put patios on either side of the proposed porch addition. So the request is to reduce the side yard setback from 7.5 to 2.3, so that's a reduction by about 5.2 feet. This aerial is there, and it's over on the right-hand side that the structure is proposed. And this is an existing site survey. This survey is dated in March, so that structure is what is denoted as overhang there. And then this is the proposed. This site plan has been rotated. So the proposed is there. The blue is our patios, and then the brown there is the overhang they are proposing as a result of the side yard setback. These are the existing conditions. So you can see the partial completion of that porch. And then that picture in the middle there is a Google Street View of the porch that existed before. So it does appear to be an unenclosed structure, whereas the proposed is going to be, if allowed to be carried out, fully enclosed. So So staff is recommending denial of the proposed variance, but should the mayor and council make the findings, then we're recommending that you condition it to a site plan. And just one more note that there is a fire code requirement without some substantial additional provisions on the construction type that structures be 10 feet from one another and from a 5 feet construction standpoint. So this does, constructing it this close to the property line does hamper adjacent neighbors from being able to construct anything without additional fire provisions.
All right, we good? All right, thank you. All right, appreciate that report. At this point, we'll ask anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application, please come up to the microphone.
Yes, good evening. This is Alan Nguyen, and at the 2284 North Salaford Road. Basically, I'm the one to apply the variance for the additional patio. So I have submitted the file for in early March. So I still have denied. So I just want to see what we're able to continue to get approved for patio. What the next we need to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great,
Yes.
thank you, man.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening. This is my first time here, so I'm just his agent. My name is Christine Train, by the way. I'm sorry, this is very new to me, so I'm here to get my client approved because when I sold a property to my client, I did talk directly with the seller regarding about the garage to get approved, and my client told me it's not an issue with City of Chamblee. And the neighbor have the same thing, like a partial that you guys see on the picture. It was closed as well on the next door neighbor. And we've seen that, and we did talk to the neighbor. The neighbor does not have any problem when we did that. So I was surprised when my client told me that City Chamblee stopped the service because he did not apply for the permit. So I'm here to see if I can help my client to get that approved. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the variance request? Please come up to the microphone.
Good evening. Thank you all for your time. My name is Nathan Felderworth. This is my wife Cindy. We own 2290 North Shelford Road, which is the next door property that is impacted by the proposed variance. We find ourselves, I really hate being up here because we're in a very unfortunate, awkward situation. We have not met our new next door neighbors. Currently, my mom, who's 87, and my stepdad, who's 92, live at 2290. Let me address one thing she said regarding the structure addition on our property. There is an addition that we call the mudroom. It's not quite 7.5 feet from the property line. This on their side is, it says 2 feet. I think it's even closer than that. In any event, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, I guess, our first time meeting our new neighbor is in a situation like this where we can't be supportive, where we're standing up here in opposition. It's unfortunate given the size of the structure, the amount of framing, the expense, that he didn't realize that he needed a permit before beginning construction and spending the amount of money that he did. But like I said, we cannot, unfortunately, be supportive of it. We think it does detrimentally impact our property value. We were not even aware until just now about the fire code that you mentioned. That's an additional concern. We're also concerned that the overhang on the extended larger structure could potentially create a water drainage issue onto our property because the overhang of the roof is right on the line. I wish we could come up with something that would be amenable to both parties, but I just don't know what it is. But we are opposed to granting the variance. So, anything else? So thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate that. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Please come on up. Give your name and address to the city clerk.
My name's Linda Wilson. I'm at 2296 North Shelford Road. I'm a couple of houses down. My concern is I was good friends with the couple that sold the house, and they were told that they were concerned about the people that bought it, that they were going to be using that for storage. No one's been living at the house. So I don't know if they're planning to live there or if this house is going to be a business or a storage place for them. That's mainly my concern about what's going on now with the house. So, and why they want to make all these extensions, because that's what they were saying, that they were wanting, that they needed it for storage, and they've been bringing in lots of boxes and things like that. And like I said, no one's living there. So I'm just a little concerned about what it's for. So anyway.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? No? Okay, all right, very good. So with that, I'm waiting for Leslie to turn her microphone on.
It doesn't work.
Well, just yell.
Motion to exit the public hearing portion of the work session.
Second, all right, Brian had a second. We have a motion and a second to exit the public hearing. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. So, we're out of that. So then I get to bang the gavel again. What? I had 2 gavels last month. But hey, I got a new name tag. All right, you guys ready?
Aren't they great?
I'm used to doing this.
I know, yeah.
Anyway. All right, very good. Enough of that. All right, announcements. Will this be tonight or is this for Tuesday evening? Tuesday evening, we will have a presentation or announcement from Emory University Community Fellows Housing Study presentation. Very cool. That's exciting. Staff action items. City Clerk, we had the approval of minutes. The first one is the minutes from the public hearing work session of April 15. Going once, going twice. Very good. Any discussion about the minutes of the public hearing and regular meeting of April 20th, which is an awesome day. 420, folks. Come on. All right, get your mind out of that. It's my birthday. All right, any discussion other than the fact that I can say April 20th is my birthday? I was 29 again. All right, the general municipal election qualifying fees and dates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to say that Governor Kemp signed Senate Bill 294 on May 3rd. So we now have a 4th district seat that needs to come up for election at the November municipal general election. The county also let me know back in March that they were looking for a resolution going forward for all of our elections. So what I have before you is a resolution to approve District 4, the qualifying dates and fees, and it also restates the information for y'all. They have accepted the other information that we've already done, but I'm just consolidating it and making it all nice, neat little package for them when I submit it.
Very good. Is there any discussion on this? I will point out that we created a new district, which is incredible. I think it gives some better representation. I will thank our city council and our staff for the hard work on that, and to point out we did not spend tens of thousands of dollars on a firm to do that for us, like somebody around here might have done. All right, city manager. Whew, man, look at you go, city manager. Looking for a raise. Budget's coming up. No items under city manager. That'll keep us moving. So this is the point of the meeting where I said these items would appear again, and like magic, they just did. The first one under development department was what we heard earlier is the 3174 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. Does the council have any questions for the staff or the applicants?
I can get my microphone.
Dude, you have the whole pad that runs the entire building. You can fly the Starship Enterprise from your desk. Seriously, everybody, as you can see, he's got like all the controls.
4 microphones and none of them work.
Yeah, you know, that's what you get when you pay $22 million for a new building.
I just have one question because I did read in the report and the applicant's statement and then he mentioned it here as well, that he had been initially issued his license and then it was revoked. So the question is just for staff if they could confirm that, or if that was the case, and as he laid it out, is that?
So the chronology is that applied for a license as an add-on to an existing business and got issued as such. Then subsequent to that, applied for a sign permit. An additional sign would only be allowed for an additional tenant. And so that kind of piques staff's thoughts of why are you applying for an additional sign. So under further investigation, it is a completely separate business. So because of that, the original one was revoked under erroneous information on the original application, and then when asked to identify whether or not the supplemental regulations were met for a separate business, that got us here because they weren't able to meet those criteria.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One question for the applicant. Are you the owner?
So if you could just make your way to the
Yes,
microphone,
okay.
just give him just 1 minute here,
Yep.
please. He was gonna sprint, but
Little walking music. Do you own the building?
No.
Or just the cash checking business that you wish to put
Yeah,
aside?
so it's only 80 square feet with 2 computers.
Right.
It's very common for every Hispanic grocery store to have this service. The existing one only sells groceries, drinks, candies, and whatnot.
And has this ever been in operation? Has the
Yes,
cash checking
yeah.
shop been in
Right.
operation
Right.
and then applied for a sign?
Yep. So the
Variance or whatever.
grocery. So the grocery store was already in operation, and when I called the office in October and I explained them the store is already in operation and I'm adding a service, and this is how they recommended I apply, which is exactly what I did. Got the license, then got revoked, but it's only 80 square feet. All I'm using is 2 computers. It's adding a service to the existing customers to the grocery store, and it's very common to do money transfers. Like people want to send money to their families in different parts of the world. I just don't see how it's affecting or creating a problem for anybody in the area. We're just assisting the people and the citizens who live in City of Chamblee. So it's a service that we are providing.
Yeah, thank you for answering my questions. Thank you. That's really needed.
other questions?
Yeah, so you actually, the original business is the convenience store, and that is yours.
It's not mine.
Okay, so you're subleasing
I'm
rather.
subleasing.
You're not leasing the whole building, you're just leasing
the 80 square feet for just a space enough for 2 computers.
Okay,
That's
so
all.
you're not leasing the whole building?
No.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
Very good. Other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. The next item then under Development Department was the 3960 Claremont Road, aka Towns at PDK. Council, questions? Bueller?
Lights are not working down here. Okay.
It doesn't turn on and off.
Hello?
Can we give this building back and
Nothing.
start over?
My question is for you, Darren, so can you please come up? I'm sorry, Mr. Curious about we don't have any copy at all of the landscaping plan other than the trees. But you've shown us a picture that has much more extensive landscaping on it. And I would be very, that's pretty paramount to how that building fits on that corner, and how it's separated from the street, the sidewalk, and all that stuff. So, can we see that? Have that?
So
Can you get us one?
we don't have one, because this isn't a DCI application, it's only about 12,500 square feet. It wasn't required. Staff asked us to create a schedule basically of what we thought would make sense from a planting perspective from trees.
Mm-hmm.
We can try and create something between now and Tuesday, but our intention is to fill the voids with greenery and shrubbery and smaller trees.
Right.
The rendering actually I think only showed 1 tree. and we've got 7 on the planting schedule that we showed. So.
Well, the rendering, the elevation also showed a hedge, which I would like. Can we see that? Can we pull that up again?
Nice. Well, that's coming up, and it might be premature to ask, but did you like what you saw there, or you're thinking more or less?
I like what I like what I see. I think that's a very interesting building. I like it quite a bit, and I'm concerned. But now, well, so this shows shrubbery in the 2-foot.
So
this
was really drawn to the building. I think what we've got on the plan would be shrubbery closer to the building.
Yeah.
On Claremont Road, because of the powerful intent just from the existing sidewalk and the sidewalk being there and only having 9 feet, we would propose plantings towards the building. On 8th Street, the residential street, I think we had a 2-foot landscape strip, which was mostly grass separate, and then we the same thing proposed a mix of shrubbery and bushes and.
Well, what I like about this is that there's almost like a front yard, courtyard feel to it because of the hedge. And if they're going to go right up against the building, then that's not going to be there. And I like how psychologically that separates the little tiny but front yard from the sidewalk and the street, or how it would if it were planted between the sidewalk and the building, up next to the sidewalk.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So between the sidewalk and the street, or the sidewalk and the building? So I know here we're showing between the sidewalk and the street.
Yes, but Claremont Road doesn't have the 2-foot strip.
Correct.
You're proposing not to have it. But is there enough distance between the Claremont Road front of the building that you could plant a hedge next to the sidewalk and still give a semblance of a front yard? Not for play or anything, but just for that feeling of separation.
I think we can. My concern in doing that is with the sidewalk right up against the street, it takes away that space to move away and just that general comfort if you need
That's
it.
what you're going to have anyways. You're proposing to keep the sidewalk as it is.
So we can, if that's what you'd like to see. I'd like to push it back a little bit farther, a couple feet off of it, just to give more clearance. I don't want to put it right up on it where it's overgrown like
I agree,
the hedge is now, but 2-3 feet off.
Century Center, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a nice benefit in the future.
Well, and yeah, so I don't mean, plant them right up against the sidewalk, but so that there's a hedge, and that there's still the semblance of a front yard, for want of a courtyard, if you will, for one better.
Would you want that mirrored down 8th Street as well, or would you want it on the other side of the sidewalk on 8th Street?
Probably would be nice if it were mirrored down 8th Street.
Okay.
As opposed to having that hedge right up against the street.
That is definitely something we can create, I think, between now and Tuesday.
But I like the architecture.
Thank you.
I like this color scheme. It was, for some reason, in my mind, when I looked at the little black and white one, in my mind, it filled it in with like 5 different colors, and I was like, I don't understand that. But this is very attractive.
And that is the proposed color scheme. The brain is right there in the light blue shirt. That's right, Gardner, the architect on this. So.
Any other questions? No?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you being here. All right. And I'll tell you what, feedback. We need to have sound check next week.
Well, they were.
We're switching to Duracell right now. So.
Good. Okay. There we go. No more bunny, huh?
No money.
Copper top, man. Good marketing. All right, Development Department, next one is 2284 North Shelford Road. Do we have any questions? Mr. Mock.
Yes, sir, I have one question, and staff can try to answer it, or anybody can actually. In reading the staff report, and reading the report, I got confused. Was there already a deck or a parking space or something in that spot, or is this whole thing new, or I saw something about an existing deck or something? Was there something already there?
So there was an existing similar shed roof that we've got a street front.
I saw that on the picture earlier. If you could pull up, I think that would help
Pull
Ryan.
that back up.
It looks smaller in scale, but you can't really tell entirely from the top middle.
I have a large photo of that
That'd
picture.
be great. Thank you so much. That's hard to see these screens. Okay, that was my one question, thank you.
Anyone else? No?
Was the concrete pad as big as what this concrete pad is originally? Do you know?
Sure, come on. Have you poured any concrete there?
I'm sorry, this is new to my class.
No, that's okay.
I try to help as much as I can because his English is very
Yeah,
limited.
that's okay.
When I showed this property, the concrete already there. I don't know what is that back there, that little red right here and mud right here. I wasn't aware of that, but everything was there originally. The only difference is with the it's already existing before. There's no issue. First time I met the neighbor, which is his mom, and we went to talk to his mom, and his mom said, I don't have any issue. So I did met her, and I don't know what she said, but it was there, the concrete, the roof, and the side as well. So he just want to close it up.
2x4.
No.
And there was a fence there, not this.
That's not the same awning.
No.
That's not the same roof.
No, they add. It doesn't show like that in there. It's the same roof coming out.
That's
If
the
you
exact
can-
same roof.
No, it was that.
Yeah, there's
That's a different roof.
That's maybe before the seller added on, and we got it as that way. We did not add it on after the closing.
Okay. Well, it's a different picture. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what we
we
have.
bought to have the roof just like that.
Okay.
And I
and
just
that
want
wall of
to
2x4s
No.
was there when we walked out.
it used to be the fence.
Oh.
So we put them 2x4 and close it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's the fence in the back, but it's perpendicular, not parallel.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And this was supposed to be a storage room?
Also, I want to confirm that the council know I am live there. But the reason maybe the neighbor not see me too much because I'm work very hard. I work 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning until maybe at 10 to 11 o'clock at night. So that's why I really just go home and sleep. That's all. So that's why maybe the neighbor not see me, but I live there. I have my furniture, everything is fully there.
Okay.
Just confirm that.
Okay. I'm not sure that. Okay, thank you. I'm not sure, and I'll just say for the I'm not sure that has any bearing on the decision the council makes here, but I appreciate everybody's input. Just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as far as I just like y'all's opinion about the roof and the change on there, because we did hear from them as far as what was there previously. All we have to look at is the picture here, which is a Google Earth Street View, which
Right.
who knows when that was taken.
Right. So one thing, just commenting on what she said, I wasn't there when they talked to my mom, so I don't know what was or was
Okay,
not
well,
said.
I guess the question I would just like to stick to this point. What just straight up,
Okay.
the roof is all we're talking about. In your opinion, is that a new structure that's been put up versus what was there prior?
So the what was there prior was just a slant roof on the back half of what now is the complete structure that they've built.
Okay.
So it was just the overhang that dropped down, it wasn't enclosed. So they've
Right.
taken that, added to it all
Okay.
the way to the front and boarded straight down without any windows or anything.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We
Uh-huh.
appreciate that. Were there any other questions? No? All right. Very good. Thank you all for your input. We'll move on. The next item then is a UDO amendment. Nuisances. Not referring to council members. I know y'all are thinking the same thing I am. But nuisances.
Thank you. This is a proposed ordinance amendment to address a set of tools that we're looking at to be able to better, I think, abate some delinquent property owners and frequent problems. So the proposed amendment not only kind of revises some of the procedures and clarifies them, but then also adds procedures to be able to allow notification and full adjudication of one case per year in certain circumstances, and then if there are recurring issues at that property in that calendar year, that we are able to, the city is able to abate that issue for subsequent problems that come up, subsequent complaints. And we see this being an option for things like tall grass, one notification annually, fully adjudicated as necessary from a notification standpoint. But then from there, the city would be able to go in and mow the lawn to be able to really upkeep these properties a little bit better than just kind of working with the property owner every time that this comes up. So we see this being useful for cases like lawns, trash, rodents, anything that are situations like that. So I'll just quickly flip through some of these. This is the section about unresolved offenses for those recurring cases that we are seeing more and more frequently. Some additional cleanup in working with the city attorney, and then ultimately at the end we've got some provisions to recover those costs that are incurred from that abatement. I will say that it's probably unlikely that in a lot of cases we will get this with them being delinquent property owners. We could go all the way to the lien process that's outlined here. But it's unlikely that, if that is called to bear, that our lien would be, really effective. But this gives us procedures to be able to request the payment for those abatement situations that we do. So with that, we are recommending approval of the text amendments to be able to add to this toolkit that we're developing. Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
You want to go ahead?
Okay. Hey, whoever's microphone works, right? I mean,
my microphone works now.
there you go. You win.
So, I'm thrilled to hear this, I'm thrilled to see this. We have always been told ever since I've been on the council that you can't do that. You can't mow their property and charge them for it. I'm not questioning, because I know that you have vetted this with our attorney, and I'm so happy to hear this. This is great. So there seems to be an ongoing problem with locating owners of some properties.
Sure.
How is that?
Yes, I can speak to that.
Yeah, speak to that.
So, and that's another tool that I'm talking about. So we have recently acquired a search database to be able to, before we had the tax assessor to be able to find, property owners and their mailing address and not too much more than that. So with this search database, we are already seeing dividends on, and I think we've only had it for a couple of weeks, being able to find more accurate locations to where we can mail notifications, but then also next of kin and people who are related to be able to track down and find. And it might not even be that they were delinquent, it's that the tax assessor's information is not up to date. So there's even one case where we just didn't have the right property owner, and so we were continually contacting somebody who's not the owner. And now we have the true property owner, and they're installing a fence, cleaning up the site, and moving forward with that agreement.
Other questions?
This specifically says multiple offenses. Is there outlined what multiple means?
Yeah, so one per calendar year. So we do the proper notification, and if that goes to court, then as an adjudicated or whatever resolution comes from that one case is the requirement in the ordinance, and then any subsequent cases in that calendar year, then we can proceed. And some of it we will use discretion as to whether or not it's something that we just need to go ahead and do.
Right.
But yeah, it gives us the authority at least to proceed in future events.
Okay. And what happens when and if an offense is not viewable from necessarily the street, which is a case that we currently have going on where street side things may kind of look okay, but it's all shot to hell in the back.
There's some constitutional issues with entering people's properties. So the way we sometimes are able to do that is if neighbors invite us onto their property so that we can view the offenses from there. You know, that's a lot of the time, the way we're able to handle those from a legal standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. So, how does our code address permitted renovations on and additions on the property that have gotten started and years later are languishing in the unfinished phase? And is that something that our code even addresses?
Are you talking like a full development, like a pipe?
No, I'm talking about an individual home that I'm assuming they pulled permits, which and then they started the work on it, and 3 years later it's in the same start position that it has been in, and the owner doesn't live there very often. I don't think he shows up very often, and there certainly is a rodent problem, but it's rotting.
Mm-hmm.
It's rotting before the neighbor's eyes.
Yeah. So with that, let me give you particular code language as far as what is allowed. It depends, you know, if it's something where they're continually getting inspections, which I don't think is the case here, then they can continue to work on it. But yeah, there's a certain minimum state that structures have to be in. So, yeah.
Okay.
Other questions? No? Very good. Does this need to move first read? Any objection to move first read? All right, very good. This will move to first read for Tuesday evening then. All right, flip the page. Next item, DCI extension for PZ 2019-469, which is Gateway East.
Thank you. This is a request to extend a DCI approval period by a duration of 1 year. In 2019, this DCI for 184 multifamily units and about 12,000 square feet of commercial space was approved, the corner of Hood Avenue and Chamblee Tucker Road. There is authority in the code for Grand City Council to approve a 1 year extension for a DCI that is set to expire. And we are recommending approval as the applicant has cited, you know, some apprehension through COVID in pursuing the development project. So we are recommending that the DCI expiration date be extended to September 17th, 2022.
Very good. So I just lost my mic. I don't know what I did. I plugged in my computer and lost my mic. All right. Just, you know.
Mr. Famine.
Woo! Has everybody seen this? All right. So I'll be yelling for the rest of the evening. Okay. No discussion of this item. We'll move on. The next item is additional matching request for LCI housing study application.
Thank you. Earlier this week, you may have seen the announcement for Chamblee's CDAP, that's Community Development Assistance Program, through Atlanta Regional Commission for up to $120,000. Originally, when we applied for the CDAP with a $10,000 match, and that's for technical assistance. Through the process, ARC contacted us and said, you meet all the criteria for LCI funding. And so they offered us this $120,000, up to $120,000 grant. This, to take full advantage of that, would require a $30,000 match. So we are here to request an additional $20,000 to be able to take full advantage of that full grant. But even the $10,000 match would afford a $50,000 application, with that being an 80-20 split. So we still are eligible for the match regardless of whether or not you approve the additional funding, but the additional $20,000 will accommodate the full $120,000 that we were granted.
Any discussion on this? I will say I was speaking to some ARC staff on an unrelated issue to this, and they actually brought up to me that I assume you all want to move forward with that. It's an awesome program, but the ARC was and their staff was extremely excited to be working with us on this project. So thank you all very much for bringing this to us. Bunch of stars, man. Public Works and Parks and Rec, and F for Finance for all you Sesame Street fans. Public Works, Economic Development. We have a St. Vincent de Paul mural location.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you might remember from last month, we had discussed the different mural locations. We had decided to go back to the Public Art Commission on deciding the final mural for the Public Safety Building, and he also graciously approved all of the muralists, which was great. You did ask us to come and talk to you about locations, and we discussed a lot about the St. Vincent de Paul location, but we didn't actually approve it. So I'm here to ask that you approve that location as a location for one of the murals and allow us to continue forward with that request.
Questions? No? Comments? I think it looks awesome.
Well, is this something that we should act on now?
Do we need to act on it now? Did you say that? I missed that part.
We will be meeting on Wednesday, so we have a little bit of time for
Well,
the Public
I mean,
Art Commission.
We have a quorum.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make a motion. I'll entertain that motion at this time.
Motion to approve the St. Vincent de Paul location for a mural.
Second.
Very good. Is there any discussion of this item? All right, so motion second to locate this mural at the St. Vincent de Paul location. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. There's one less thing we have to do Tuesday night. Tell you what, boards, authorities, committees. I'm not bored, especially not with all the microphones going off the way they are. Seriously, I don't understand. I plugged in my computer, just power.
There's no sense to it.
Very good. All right. Well, and that's what I get for making fun of all you for microphones not working. Brian turned me off. That's what happened. He pushed these. Brian's over there behind the curtain. All right. First read on Tuesday evening, we'll have nuisances. Speaking of nuisances, the second read, the first one was the alcohol definition update. For anybody that's interested, we will be defining the definition of alcohol. We'll also have a residential recycling ordinance amendment, second read, and a second read to the UDO amendment, stormwater and lighting. All right, very good. Bunch of stars for all the mayor and council, except Councilmember Mock. No, actually, Mock gets all sorts of stars because he's such a great guy, and he would like to discuss policy on tax abatements.
Mine is very easy, Mayor. I've been talking to the city manager, but in short, I'm looking to direct staff to come back to us at the July work retreat with some suggested policy recommendations on tax abatements, specifically, but not limited to, the criteria that needs to be met in order to apply for a tax abatement from the DDA. As it stands now, pretty much anybody can come before the DDA and ask for an abatement. And I'd like to see us tighten that up a little bit, take some of that off of their plates.
I think that's a great suggestion.
It will require staff to put some work into it, so I just wanted to make sure.
Put it on the agenda. No, I think it's great. And I'd also talk to the city manager. I think it would be great, much in the way that we've talked a lot about education and communication. I've had this conversation so many times here in the last couple of months. It's not even funny about how COVID has affected so many things, but I think it's also affected some of the way that we're used to communicating with each other face to face, not having as much time and opportunity to do that. I think it's great. As I told you, I've been able to sit in some presentations to some of our county commissioners from our DDA folks and our economic development staff about tax abatements that I found very useful. And I also mentioned to the city manager, I think that same type of information being presented to the entire council and staff at a retreat and that'd be the right situation to do that, would be very useful as well. I think as much information as that we can get to make the best decisions possible. I will say this too, there's concern. I hear concern. I've been on a lot of Zoom calls, meetings anymore with the executive committee of the DeKalb Municipal Association, which is basically the mayors, about some concern that the county has with the county school system and the county board of commissioners with cities doing tax abatements. And I will say that I have pointed out several times that one, the county commissioners have not seemed to have a concern with ours, and I think a big reason that is that our city council, our staff, and our community have been on top of this issue and concerned about it themselves. And I think that continuing to have that discussion and redefining, I think it's an awesome tool. We all agree. We formed the DDA, making sure that we're doing it the right way. I will say that across the board, and talking with other folks that deal with this, we get pretty high marks when it comes to that, and I think it's because we have these conversations about it. So I'm anxious to get more information. So Brian, thank you for asking the council to direct the staff to put more time and effort into it. So that will come up on Tuesday evening. So that's just even more stars for Brian, because he's just a star. All right, item number 7, which used to be item number 9. It did. On the agenda, it was number 9, and I used to be able to go number 9, number 9, number 9. All the millennials in here don't get that. Okay, citizen comment. It's a fan favorite. You get 3 minutes. Make your way up to the microphone. Tell us who you are, where you live, and going once, going twice. No other comments? Mr. City Manager, do we have an executive session this evening?
We do not.
Woo! We're out of here. God, I love doing that.
That gavel has.